Welcome back. North Korea reportedly detaining a U.S. citizen on Friday just as he was preparing to leave the country. That news coming as the North threatens to sink a U.S. aircraft carrier to show off its military power. Right now, the USS Carl Vinson carrier strike group is headed toward the Korean Peninsula. I want to bring in Ambassador Christopher Hill right now. He's the former U.S. ambassador to South Korea. Ambassador, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Pleasure.
Your take on the current situation taking place out of the North?
Well, first of all, I mean, the North Korea has always been known for its kind of feisty responses to everything we say and do, and so we're seeing a little more of that. We're seeing a threat to sink the Carl Vinson. We're seeing a threat to attack Australia with nuclear weapons unless it stops being a supporter of the United States. It's kind of an example of their customary charm, but it also speaks to the fact that they, even brutal dictatorships, have domestic audiences and public opinion. So I think a lot of this is for their own internal opinion.
But what should we make of these provocations toward the U.S.? I mean, should we be worried about the military might of North Korea, given our aircraft carrier is close to the Korean Peninsula?
Well, certainly U.S. aircraft carriers don't go to places where they can't be defended, so I think the Navy knows what they're doing when they put an aircraft carrier anywhere in the world. But certainly we should always be concerned about the North Koreans. They have a million-man army, and now they have an increasing arsenal of new missiles, solid fuel missiles that are capable of clearly of reaching South Korea and Japan and maybe beyond. They seem to be working on multi-stage missiles to try to attack the U.S., and certainly their nuclear program has accelerated in recent years. 2 tests in 2016, another one that they are certainly signaling in the coming in this year as well. So there's a lot to be concerned about, and there's a reason why this whole issue has kind of moved up to the top of the charts. I think the Trump administration is basically doing the right thing, that is work harder with China, reassure our allies, South Korea and Japan. But otherwise, I mean, we're going to have to be very vigilant about this. This is a very dangerous regime with a very dangerous set of weapons.
Well, what should the U.S. be doing in terms of its allies perhaps supporting terrorist groups? For example, Israeli leader Netanyahu was on Sean Hannity this past week talking about Iran and saying that the U.S. needs to change that Iran deal. Listen to what he said. I want to get your reaction to it.
Vis-a-vis the deal with Iran, you know, if I had to compress it to 2 words, repeal or replace. I think Washington has to decide its own position. But clearly, one thing that has to be changed is to not let Iran have the best of all worlds, which is the worst of all worlds for Israel, and the Arab countries, the United States, the world.
So what about that, Ambassador? I mean, the U.S. has been trying to court China as a way to, obviously President Trump has been courting the president of China as a way to get China to help rein in North Korea. But what about the Iran deal? What about other areas where the U.S. can make a difference in terms of stopping anyone supporting terrorism acts?
Well, Prime Minister Netanyahu may be having some fun by referring to the Iran deal in terms that we talk about the health deal, health care repeal and replace. But I think he knows well that this is a multilateral deal. It's not just the United States. It's Britain, it's France, it's Germany, it's Russia, it's China, a lot of different countries involved. I think the Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, said it best the other day. It appears that the Iranians are hewing to the letter of the agreement with respect to nuclear developments. But beyond that, in terms of their support for various terrorist groups, including Hezbollah, their continued support to the Assad regime, we have deep concerns about Iran. So I think it's going to be a very tough situation going forward. But I think as long as they hew to what they're supposed to do on the nuclear deal, I think the State Department under Mr. Tillerson has done the right thing to encourage recertification of this deal. But beyond that, we need to be very clear that Iran is misbehaving, continues continues to misbehave, concerns very much our Arab allies, and also is not a force for positive developments in this hideous place called Syria. So again, I think the Trump administration is basically on target with Iran.
I feel like the mother of all bombs dropped in Afghanistan a week and a half ago was as much a signal to ISIS as it was a signal to North Korea to show the U.S. is not backing down when it sees wrongs.
You know, I think to some extent that's how it certainly came out, although the U.S. commander in Afghanistan made clear that the weapon was used because of the target involved. And certainly a lot of Afghans don't want to see their country used as some sort of experimental place for new U.S. ordnance. So I suspect the U.S. military did use the bomb because there was an appropriate target. But if others take some lesson from it, for example, the North Koreans, who are rather infamous for digging their military structure deep into the ground, well, if they take a positive lesson from it, so be it.
Yeah. Ambassador, good to have you on the program this morning. Thanks so much for weighing in.